All right, we are pretty much done with our canning, and I do hope I get some grapes though, but we've put away all that and we are ready to start recording again. So just so you know, we are waiting for the frost to hit because grapes, their sugar gets put into the fruit better after the first frost, and so with apples. So kind of a fun little trivia there. So, but let's go ahead and move on to our lesson today. These are unit syllables, and they can be unit syllables at the same time that they are suffixes. And I know we've gone over a few and we have some new ones in here, but I'm just going to reiterate a few of these just very briefly so you can remember what we've talked about in past videos. But we have this ATE says it or ate at the end of multi-syllable words, okay? Sure or jure. Now it says jure when there is a vowel right here in front of it. Ture. Now, it also says ture in the middle of the words when the E is not at the end. So U-R-E, T-U-R-E is at the end of words, and you'll see in the middle of words like that. So it or ite, ij or aj, and age, ild, is or ice, is or ace. And so those are things we're going to focus on. Now, like I said, they are all still unit syllables. Now we have ATE we're going to start out with first. Now ATE can turn words into adjectives, nouns, or verbs. So an adjective describes a noun, and if you don't really understand what a noun is, you're not going to understand how to find an adjective in a sentence. So a noun is a person, place, thing, or idea. So we have concrete nouns, which is something that you can physically touch. So like I would be a concrete noun because you can touch me, you can feel me, you can see me. And then we have abstract nouns where you can't physically touch it, like a conscious, let the conscious be your guide, or love. And then we have our verbs. So verbs are the did, you know, like running, it's moving, you can see it. Is always what the did is. So if you can find the did, then you can find your noun. All right, so now let's talk a little bit about the verb. So your verb can either be a helping verb, a be verb. But if it's a helping verb, it has to go with the regular verb. Was running, will be running. So see how the helping verb actually changes your tense, and we'll go into that in another lesson. So it's really important to understand how your helping verbs work, but your tenses can be very tense if you're not understanding really what they are doing. But also, verbs can only sit in the simple predicate position. Now, we talked about that in another lesson about the simple predicate and the simple subject. It can only sit in simple predicates, all your verbs. Now, you can have lots of different verbs in a sentence, but they will be sitting with a clausal or a verb phrase. So, but it has to sit in a verb position in the predicate position of a sentence. Now, nouns on the other hand, excuse me, nouns on the other hand, they sit in noun positions. And a lot of people think, well, nouns are just the subjects. Yeah, they are the subject. A noun position is the subject of the sentence, but you have object positions of the sentence. And so so nouns can bounce, but verbs have to sit in the simple predicate of a regular sentence or a clause. I'm going to go ahead and add on our suffix to our base word. So we have fortune. So remember, now let's go over our spelling rules. So we have, what is the doubling rule, Daniel?
If you have a CVC.
Yeah, a consonant, vowel, consonant in a one-syllable word or a 2-syllable word. If you have 3 or more syllables, you do not have to worry about the doubling rule. But remember, with a 2-syllable word, you need to double on the accented syllable. That's where your Latin roots really come into play. Now, Latin root typically sits on the end, not always, and English words typically sit at the beginning. So if it's an English word, most likely it doesn't need to be doubled. Latin roots, double it. Change the Y to I and add on your suffix. It does not matter what kind of suffix it is unless it starts with an I. You can't have double I's together. And then Paul, tell me about the last rule. Can you think of the last rule?
The silent E.
The silent E, so it's the dropping rule. So you drop the E and add on a vowel suffix, okay? Vowel suffix with silent E. You don't drop the E if you're not adding on a vowel suffix. So let's go ahead and do that right here. We're gonna drop our E and you're gonna add on A-T-E, okay? So, fortunate. Okay, see how it's turned to it? So, passion. Daniel, what do you do with this one? Do we just add it on? I want passionate.
Yes.
Just add it on. Whoops. Okay, so we have passionate right here. Now, look, pass is your Latin root. Now, if you see S-I-O-N, T-I-O-N, you don't have to even worry about a spelling rule. It will not have any on there, and you know it's connected to your Latin root. Your Latin root will be at the beginning. So consider, do we need to do anything on this one, any of the spelling rules?
No.
No, it's a 3-syllable word, 1, 2, 3. And look, this is your chameleon prefix, it's going to schwa. This is your accented syllable. You don't need to do it, so you just add it on, okay? So now we have carbonate. Look, carbon is your base word, car is your Latin word, so the N did not need to be doubled. Elector, do we need to double? So anything right here for electorate?
No.
No. How do you know that?
There's double.
Here's your Latin root. It's a 3-syllable word, right? 1, 2, 3. Lect is your Latin root. You know this is the accent. You just add it on, okay? It's a 3-syllable word. How about this one? This one's tricky. This says consul. What do you think, Paul? Do we need to double it?
Nope.
You don't. But this one could be really tricky because you can see, oh, well, this is a chameleon prefix, because most of the time if you see con or kun, it will be a chameleon and it will go to schwa. But here, listen to this. Consul. Now, con is not turning to schwa, so you know that this is the accented syllable. You know that this does not need to be doubled, so you just add it on. Hyphen, noun right here. It's an actual thing that you can see and write. You put it in between your words. Do not double it. Hyphenate, see this, see how it changed it to a verb? So the hyphen in the word made the word correct. So there, see how you put the hyphen in there, that is your noun. But see, as you put on the ATE, it changed it to the verb. Will you hyphenate that word? Okay, so see how it changed this to the verb. Active. So what are we gonna do right here, Paul, with active? When we wanna add ATE.
Would you drop the E?
Yeah, good job. So we're gonna drop the E and add the ATE. So there is a spelling word. But this is very unusual right here for regular. So we want to do regulate. So we're gonna do, see how they are right there, you guys, right here? How it's no longer in the word. So sometimes you have like these weirdo words that you would have, and I would definitely say these need to be spelling words right here. Okay, majesty, magistrate, we're gonna go magistrate.
Would you,
No, really, what were you gonna ask?
I was gonna try to answer it for you.
Okay, so now look at this. This one changed quite a bit. This magistrate, you can actually hear that I. This almost sounds like an I. So this actually makes it pretty tricky right here when you're adding on this suffix to here. So, but these are unusual for you to see. Most of the time you're just going to be adding on it as a suffix. So now we have ITE. And what I found with ITE, when it's in like a mineral or when we have it as in a science or something like that, then I found that it most of the time will stay long. So vulcanite, see how it's saying line, nitrite. So, but the pronunciation can be it or ite, but I found most of the time in the minerals and the science words, it will stay long. Okay, axite, linite, monzonite, perlite. So this is also interesting. Perlite is the same word and you can still spell pearl and then add your ITE on the end. Kimberlite, satellite. Now I've also found anything that ends with the ul, light is long. Okay? Now let's go into isled. You will most of the time not see isled as a suffix unless you're really studying some old English words, and that's when you would see this as a suffix. If you're really like excited about studying English, you will have isled as a suffix. Okay, so let's go ahead and come on over here to sure. Now sure can be its very own word. Now sure says sure or jure. And if you have a vowel right here in front of it, what sound are you gonna get, Dan?
Jure.
Jure, a vowel right there. So look at this. And see, this will be its very own word, assure. See how this starts with a consonant? Surely is its very own word with suffixes added to it. Surest, its very own word with suffix added to it. Surer, sureness. So it's really important to know how to spell sure. Okay, because it's not going to just be in its very own several different words, but as a base word, but it's also going to act as a suffix or its own unit sound. Okay, and it'll be in lots of different words where it'll be just a unit syllable, or it'll be a suffix but a unit syllable. So Daniel, watch, look at this. So we have expose right here, and now if we want to add on the suffix sure or jure, it would say exposure. But how I would teach this, I would definitely say drop the SE and add on your SURE. So also, see how pose is a Latin root? So sure goes on Latin roots, but look at this word. This says please. It's not a Latin word, it's an English word. And you're gonna drop the SE and you're gonna add on sure. Pleasure. So see how it changed to jure because of this vowel, exposure, because of that vowel. Now, TURE only says chur, and it could say chur in the middle of words like that. Oftentimes, if we have to drop our E, you'll just see the TURE and then something else added onto it. But chur typically will go with a Latin root. I'm sure there's some exceptions, but it's typically connected to Latin, and it also indicates that it could be a noun. Not always, but it could be a noun. So look at this, puncture. See how the CT right here, all of a sudden it just says, what does this CT tell you? That is a Latin word. This is a Latin word because you can see CT, puncture, juncture. What's your Latin root in this one, Paul?
Fracture.
What's your Latin root?
Sure.
The Latin.
Fract.
Fract. Good. So what's the Latin root in this one?
Colt.
Colt. So cult is your Latin root here. Has something to do with law. They have something to do with government, the T-U-R-E, and they have something to do with an act that's actually happening, like a puncture. It's really interesting right here. It indicates a noun. So look at this. So the puncture of the wound was deep. So see how that is a noun? You have your article, the, and an are all your articles, the puncture. If you have an article which are also adjectives, then you know you have a noun sitting somewhere close by that is going to be being described. Okay, so juncture, fracture. Okay, let's do this. The fracture in his leg made it difficult for him to walk. So see how that is an actual act, culture. This would be probably more to do with the law and government. Okay, so let's go in and we're just going to just do a little bit of a refresher on these. Okay, so AGE, we'll say is or aj. Most of the time in American words, you'll hear it as is. Aj is French, but I did a lot of American words right here. And so, look, this had the doubling rule, baggage, passage. Now see, look, this is a Latin root, so it can go with either American words, it can go with Latin roots. Breakage, this is an American word. Carriage, now this is unusual. So when you say carriage, can you hear the I in this word? Paul? Carriage.
Kind of.
Okay, what do you think, Dan?
It sounds like the I, you can't hear the A, but the I.
Okay, so what does AGE say?
Age.
So can you hear the I in there? Carriage.
Yeah.
No, you can't. You can't hear carriage, right? That I should say E because it's followed by a vowel. So is what happens, that sound gets dropped in this word. But how do we know how to spell it correctly? How would we know?
Memorization.
Okay, that's a great one, memorization. But we also know because we have a base word. What would be our base word here?
Carry.
Carry. So C-A-R-R-Y. Change the Y to I and add on your vowel suffix so you know it's there because you have a base word. And so you would just, it just helps you with your spelling to know your base words, okay? Percentage. Look, there's your Latin root. See how it's tied to Latin roots? It's tied to American words. Yardage, American word. Then let's go over is and ace. Now, these, we've gone over these quite a bit, but they're very confusing for children. Now, is can, as a suffix, or not a suffix, but a unit sound. It says is or ice, but what, and then this says is or ace. Sometimes you see ICE at the end of a word. It's very odd and very unusual, but I did want to point it out that sometimes you see ICE and it's not going to say is, or it's not going to say ice. Anglice. This says anglicis, anglicy. This E is going long. It's actually saying something, and most of the time it's silent. This says preservis, and I've also heard it as preservice. So it could either be long or short in here, just depending, I think, where you come from. So, but look at this. ACE, this is not a unit syllable. So same thing as if we had an ICE in here, like dice. It wouldn't be a unit syllable because this is a silent E syllable. It's a one syllable word. So this is not a unit syllable. So it says ice and dice and dace. But in here, one says analyst. And so it's saying it's short I sound, analyst. All right, so I had so much fun teaching this lesson and I hope you enjoyed it too, and we will see you in the next lesson.